I'd like to start off with a correction. Turns out you can skip cutscenes, but you have to, as far as I know, you have to use the plus button on the Wiimote to do it. I don't know what that equivalent to is in the GameCube controller. Like, I've only played this game once, and like, why would I play through the entirety of this game again? So I've never actually skipped any of the cutscenes, because I had to watch it to record them, so... Like, I heard someone say, I just wish you could skip the cutscenes in this game. And I just assumed it made the same problem as in Unleashed. Oh god, these things. First of all, they change color... They change color when they're not all the way to the foreground or the background. They shouldn't do that. They should make it so that they only change color when they've changed the ground that they're in. Because it's misleading. Like what's the point of making them change color for the sake of a visual cue? And second, they only protrude after you land right in front of them. You've also got to jump on top of them. But, like, it's a good thing that you can get through that section really quickly by homie attacking. I'd say these things were like the invisible blocks, but they really aren't. Because, like, they stay visible and tangible until you land on them. So they're more convenient that way. I like this section, sort of. I like how it's imaginative how you have to use this to platform. Although again, it's so awkward. If they should only change color, like it's going to the background there, and it's blue when it's in the background. It should only be blue when it's completely in the background and isn't interacting with you at all. And it should only be red when it's completely a threat. And there, I was spending such a long time not doing anything that all of a sudden they expected me to do something, and so I died. That's the problem with having too much automation. Like, you feel like you're watching a cutscene in the middle of a level, and so you put down the controller, and then all of a sudden you're expected to do something, and then you die. The way the Frenzy Wisp controls in 3D is that it jerkily moves left and right as well as going forwards. So, it's not like you can precisely aim it, although you don't really need to. Like, I think it controlling that badly was sort of the point, because it's a Frenzy Wisp, and so it's evil and crazy and stuff. But yeah, they force you to use it here. It's not really that big of a deal though. Like, it's a good Wisp. Like, because of how it's designed, where it has narrow corridors in the areas where you're using it, it's not a problem that it controls badly. This is easily one of the worst parts of the game. The problem with this is that Sonic's momentum is so jacked up for a precise platforming game that he can very easily end up falling into these things that we're walking into them. The instant that he starts falling, which can easily happen when the anti-gravity decides to switch up on you, he starts falling forwards with a lot of momentum. And it's not like you can stomp because you're so surprised by the fact that you got sent upwards that you won't think to stomp in time before you get crushed. So, like, keep a look at my timer here. I was 8 minutes into this level until I beat it, and this is a really short section. You can also fall up into a bottomless pit here, although thankfully you can still get out of it even if you're at the very last platform. But yeah, I think that if you had, like, Sonic Rush physics, it wouldn't be so bad because you could just stop instantly whenever you want, rather than falling really quickly forwards when you don't want to. Like, you're forced to fall there, to fall up into the ceiling. And I stomped there specifically to make sure that I wouldn't die. And of course the goal ring is right there. Like, it's so frustrating dying so many times right next to the goal ring. And for Act 3, well, it's another 2D level, And as you can see, well, I guess I could have jumped really high to get up to those rings, but I basically have no rings here. You gotta use the Cube Wisp in this level a lot. The Cube Wisp is basically a ripoff of the P-Switch from Super Mario World, which really just drives the point home even further how this game isn't really Sonic-like. Here's the problem with this section. There's a bunch of blocks automatically protruding from the background as soon as you move past them. An increasingly large horizontal row of them each time, to the point where eventually you have to stomp to get to the top of them and land on them. Sounds simple to dodge these things, right? The problem is there's a ceiling above you, which will send you flying back downwards into the springs if you hit it. So you have to time your stomp very precisely, and it's impossible to know what the right timing for it is. So you probably die a huge amount of times here. Not to mention you can get frazzled from all those deaths and end up dying at the very start of the section multiple times so you just walk to the right and fall into spikes with no rings. Because the yellow springs is too preoccupied with lowering to catch you at the time. No rings, that's another thing. This level doesn't have nearly enough rings. And I was stunned when I finally beat this section. And the confusing thing is, they give you 2 wisps at once here, even though you can only have 1 wisp at one time. So I was really conflicted about which one I should choose. And of course you still have to be careful at this part, because you can still die. And it's not like you hit a checkpoint after you reach those wisps. And of course now you have to do backtracking to beat a Sonic level. I guess I kind of like how Sonic is glowing when he has a wisp of the right color. Like he glows dark blue when he has a cube wisp. Although, the wisp is colored dark blue, and so is the P-Switch in Super Mario World. Wasn't Sonic supposed to be the anti-Mario? You know, rebelling against them, not conforming to him? But yeah, you can get rid of the blocks with the Cube Wisp, or you can use the Spin Dash Wisp. I say Spin Dash, I never actually Spin Dash in this game. Mainly because, well, it's kind of unintuitive to me, because you Spin Dash with the B button, and the main thing about it is that it lets you climb walls. So I focus on that and not the fact that you can technically Spin Dash with it too. There's also the fact that it's kind of hard to tell which direction you're facing with it, so it's very easy to Spin Dash in the wrong direction. And because of that, I never actually end up Spin Dashing with it in the game. And honestly, it's good that you can go through the entire game without ever Spin Dashing with it once. It's very easy to get stuck on this area, because it's very unintuitive what you're supposed to do to beat it. Basically, they pad the level out to 2.5 minutes by making it very unintuitive what you're supposed to do. You have to go to the rightmost part of it and hit a switch, and that's how the goal ring appears. Like, they basically make 2.5 minutes worth of level with a really small amount of level design. There are literally people on the internet, on forums and stuff, asking how they beat this level. It's the easiest level to get S ranks in, and it's pretty short. Like, a lot of people say that you can very easily get an S rank in this level. And when you get an S rank, you get 3 lives. So that's good. But honestly, I think it's a lot easier to just spam Tropical Resort Act 4 over and over. Because that can be beaten in like 20 seconds and it gives you 1 life every time. While getting an S rank in this level takes longer.
What is this place? Whoa. This is where he converts them into the strange, negative aliens with the freaky energy.
Oh, there you are. I thought I lost you for a second. Did you find anything interesting? Look at all of them. He's captured thousands of aliens.
Don't worry. We'll get them out.
Sonic, I haven't seen Yacker for a while.
You'll have to excuse me, buddy. I have a generator to shut down.
Now, on its own, this is a very good scene. This is the only scene in the game that seems to have had a visual director. You can see the cinematic camera angles and panning all around the area. And they do a good camera shot of the intimidating looking purple tubes. They had to create the right atmosphere by having the characters react properly to the situation, being horrified, and while Tails flying in threatens to ruin it with comedy like with Chip, they decide to tone down the comedy by having him notice what's going on and being horrified. So that's good. And Sonic is actually taking things seriously, rather than being cocky and annoying. He looks serious. He doesn't make me want to punch him in the face. Everything about that scene is good. It looks like it was ripped straight out of a different game entirely, from how different it is from the rest of the cutscenes of the game. Like, Tails is so sad and sympathetic and everything like that. It would have been a lot more impactful if we actually saw a normal Wisp get turned into a Mega Wisp. But other than that, that scene is perfect on its own. When you look at all the different times that the game reminded you of what Eggman was doing, all you're thinking at that point is, I get it. Like, you've been reminded, like, over 7 times by that point in the game that Eggman captures Wisp and uses it for power. Why is there a checkpoint bonus? I mean, seriously. Why do they... Like, hitting a checkpoint does not mean you're good at the game. There should not be a scoring system that's not based on skill. This is a pretty easy and short level. But anyways, it's only a good scene on its own, because otherwise it's just a culmination of repetition. And now you get Act 6, which is easily the hardest part of the game. Although I guess I'll admit that I had a harder time with the first section than other people did. There's a lot of problems with this. First of all, there's so many cinematic camera angles that it can kind of make you lose track of where you are and make it hard to tell which rail you should be on in order to be able to accurately jump into the rings. I feel like in this part of the level, jumping into the rainbow rings and stuff is mandatory to beat it. There, I thought that I was able to jump into those rings from that rail because the cinematic camera angle was so panned out that I couldn't really see where Sonic was and what camera angle I was at. Like, they should not have cinematic camera angles like that in a section where it's not like you're not really doing anything. Like, Twinkle Park had a roller coaster section, but you weren't really doing anything, so it was fine that the camera was moving all over the place. With this, it's trying to be cool with the camera, but because of that, you can't really tell what roller coaster you should be on to jump into the rings properly. And you also have to jump into the rings sooner than you expect, because otherwise, you aren't going to jump into them. And there's also the fact that you have to keep on pushing forwards while you're trying to jump into them, or you won't go far enough to jump into them. So yeah, I lost like 20 lives here because, like, I don't know, I don't think that they should have outright platforming in an action set piece where you're riding a roller coaster. I don't think, like, it just feels like they're betraying you. Like, Twinkle Park did not expect you to do a whole bunch of platforming while you're in the roller coaster. It was just something to look nice. But with the camera moving all over the place, it's kind of hard to do depth perception right. And like, that thing was leading you straight into a bottomless pit. And again, they changed the controls on you where you have to hold left or right and press the A button. I don't know why they can't just keep it the same as the rail switching controls. Especially since by doing 2 actions instead of just 1, it just increases the amount of time that it takes to react. I really wish the level had just ended there. Especially since the acts after Act 2 are kind of supposed to be short and easy. But with Asteroid Coaster, every single act is actually pretty long, especially in the first time. Like, this is definitely the hardest level in the game. I think I actually had a harder time with this level than with Eggman Land. Although I only played the Wii version of Eggman Land. And then again, the Wii version forces you to spend like a half an hour trying to beat Eggman Land Day without ever dying. So maybe it isn't harder. Or at least it doesn't take as long. But yeah, this is pretty creative, isn't it? Like, you could just jump up into the water. Like, this is the level with anti-gravity as his theme, so I'm not really gonna question it. Like, this is pretty cool concept. And you can never really drown here because there's frenzy wisps, and like, the water area is also pretty short. But of course, I was playing through the game with the mindset of, I'm going to avoid using wisps whenever possible. Like, I'm going to show off when they're truly forced on you. So that's part of what makes this playthrough unique. That and the fact that I don't really go out my way to get red rings. Which makes sense because Sonic is not about getting collectibles. Like, you play like Yoshi for that. Like, if I wanted to play a 2D platformer where collectibles was the main focus, I'd 100% Super Princess Peach again. And it's a good game, like, it's a really good game aside from the annoying haunted house maze level, where you literally have to memorize what doors you need to go through. But aside from that, it's a good game. But anyways, I don't really think that having a level design that's all about collectibles for replayability, I don't think that really suits Sonic. Like, levels should be something you want to replay because they're fast and fun. Or because the platforming is satisfying. But with this game, the platforming really isn't satisfying because the controls are so slippery. Like, even people who really like the game say that the jump physics are too floaty. I don't know if floaty is really the right word to describe it. I mean, like, you had a floaty jump in Sonic Adventure 1, but if anything, that just made it a lot easier to land your jumps, because you stayed in the air longer. This is a pretty easy enemy. Like, it's all about just specifically timing when to homie attack him. So I don't really find it that hard at all. But anyways, isn't it amazing that this level has gone on for 14 minutes? Like, even the possibility that it can last that long proves that there is a serious problem. But yeah, in the next part I'll be showing off the boss of this place.
When I watch it on its own, however, within the context of the story, this scene really bores me. Why? Well, look. So when the game starts, we see Eggman's robots capturing those aliens. Okay, Eggman captures aliens. I get it. So then Sonic points out that Eggman captured those aliens and that's bad.
Huh? Okay, seriously? We need to find Eggman and figure out how catching these aliens fits into whatever heinous plan he's hatching.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. Then we get the scene where Eggman explains that he captured those aliens.
24, 25... Ah, not nearly enough aliens!
Right, thanks for officially establishing that capturing aliens is your plan in the game. And then Eggman explains it again.
Precious little aliens! I'll harness their hyper-go-on power.
And then Tails talks to the alien and the alien explains they're captured.
I just hear save them over and over.
And then the alien says again.
Anyway, he's draining them of their power.
And then Eggman explains he captures aliens.
Soon the mind control weapon will be full of energy I've siphoned from the aliens.
So then it's explained again.
It's a reality. He's using them like some kind of living intergalactic gasoline.
And then they explain it again.
We know Eggman is going to use the energy he's stealing for a mind control weapon.
And then they explain it again and again and again.
Well, I still can't believe he kidnapped a whole planet.
I get it, I get it, I get it!
This is where he converts them into the strange, negative aliens with the freaky energy.
Yes, Eggman captures aliens for power, and it's not so complicated. Stop explaining! So then finally, we get this Sonic sees the aliens being processed in the machine. It's a good scene, but at this point, all I think of is, yes, I get it, I fucking get it! Aliens being captured. Stop hammering this stuff into my head already!
And that's over-exposition. The more you keep explaining the same things, the less emotional punch they pack.